Okay, are you training for a half marathon? Whether you're training to run a PB or just to finish strong, the secret to success lies in structured, smart training sessions. In this video, I'm sharing 5 key training sessions that will take your fitness to the next level. Sessions designed to build speed, endurance, and race day confidence. These are exactly the type of sessions I used from going from not being able to run 2 hours for a half marathon to being able to comfortably run 1:19 often in training. Now in this video, I'm going to focus on the time of 1:19, so sub 1:20, and we're going to focus on those times, which is 3:44 per kilometer, and for the sake of simplicity, we're going to call that 3:45. To give you an idea of how fast that is, and yesterday I published a video about super shoes and the effect of super shoes on performance. If you go to 2023, last year, nearly 4,000 people in the UK ran under 1:19 for the half marathon. If you went back to before super shoes, 2016, just over 2,000 people ran 1:19 or less. That is a massive difference. It's obviously nearly double. Session number 1, tempo intervals. And we're gonna do 4 times 2 miles. And we're gonna run those in 3:40 per kilometer. So 5 seconds or 4 seconds per kilometer faster than what we want to run for the half marathon. Now that's a tough session. So if you need to start with 2 times 2 miles and then 2 times 3 miles and then 2 times 4 miles, that's a great way to progress onto it. Just have 60 seconds rest in between. So again, you're teaching your body to control your breathing and let your heart rate go from high during the rep and at the end of the rep to low after just 60 seconds recovery. That's going to improve your lactate threshold, and it's going to improve the amount of time, it's going to increase the amount of time that you're spending running faster than your goal race time, faster than your half marathon time, which is going to make that half marathon seem comfortable for as long as possible in the race. Super important. Number 2, long run with tempo finish. Now I love these runs because they're great at building that faster finish and they're great at building confidence for your race. What this is going to look like is 22 kilometers of long run with the final 6 kilometers at half marathon pace. So you're aiming for 3:44, 3:45 pace. For the first 16 kilometers, and you might need to build up to that. So if this initially looks like a 16 kilometer run with the last 6 kilometers at your half marathon pace, and then build to 18, 20, and then 22, again, great progressions. For the first 16 kilometers, I like to hold about 30 seconds slower than my half marathon pace. So about 4:15 per kilometer for that first 16K, and then get onto the 3:45 pace. That builds a lot of confidence moving forward. The tendency here is to go faster in the first 16 kilometers because we want to build even more confidence to run in that half marathon in 3:45 pace. Now, we don't want to get distracted here by running the first segment, the first 16 kilometers too quickly so it detracts from the final 6 kilometers. The purpose of this run is to run a relative pace for the entire duration of the 22 kilometers, but that first 16 kilometers feels like you're running with the handbrake on, just a little bit less than your marathon pace, and then really going for it in those last final 6 kilometers and building confidence that you can finish at the end of a 22 kilometer long run, so longer than the half marathon, you can finish at half marathon pace. Number 3, progressive long run. Now we're going to run 18 kilometers, and again, this is great for building pace in the final part and building very, very specific pace towards your half marathon target. What you're going to do is you're going to break the 18 kilometers into 3 segments of 6 kilometers each. We're going to start with 4:15 per kilometer. The middle 6 kilometers, we're going to do 4 minutes per kilometer, and then that final 6 kilometers, we're going to dig in and we're going to run at half marathon goal pace. Now, what that means is we get to spend a lot of time relative to our half marathon goal pace, but more important than that, we're finishing at exactly the pace that we want to hold. And remember, you're on fatigued legs. If you're in the middle of a training schedule, you've got the fatigue of the interval sessions and the long run and the rest of the run in the total volume. So when you take the taper, you freshen up for 10 to 14 days. That final 6 kilometers is then possible for the entire duration of the half marathon. Number 4, VO2 max intervals. Now, we don't want to neglect that top end speed, and also you're going to get some strength and aerobic efficiency from this as well. And what that's going to do for us, if we're doing intervals like an 8 times 800 meters at 3:30 pace, again, it's going to make half marathon pace feel very achievable for the race, but also that's going to feed into the rest of your running, including your specific long runs, when all of a sudden it feels very comfortable for you to be running at 3:44, 3:45 per kilometer. Number 5, mixed pace long runs. Now these are really fun to do and they actually break up the training schedule for me. And the training schedule, if you're training for 13 weeks and a lot of that is dedicated and specific to your half marathon target, your intervals, your long runs are specific and your recovery runs and easy runs, sometimes for people that can be monotonous. So a session like this can really help break things up. What we're going to do is we're going to run a 20-kilometer long run, but every 2 kilometers we change in pace. So we start with 3:45 pace, the pace that we want to run the half marathon in, and then it depends where you're up to in your progress towards that half marathon pace. If you can hold 4-minute pace, brilliant, you're almost there. It's likely, because this is a training run, that it's going to be more like 4:15 pace or 4:30 pace to begin with. You might also want to say not just every 2 kilometers you change the pace to 10 kilometers at 3:45 pace, at half marathon pace, and 10 kilometers slower. You might want to do that every kilometer. And that's a really fun run to do as well. What it gives you is the ability to change up and down in gears, but it also feeds into your future target of marathon training as well, whilst feeding into this initial target of you running a half marathon in 1 hour 19. Now, those are great training sessions and they're going to get you on your way to running those faster times, or you can apply them to the times that you're trying to run right now. You want to implement one of those per week, and I like to put that into a training schedule of 13 weeks where 11 and a half weeks is specific training, then I've got about a 10-day taper. But I'm also respecting the recovery runs, the easy runs, and the rest of the training, and listening to my body along the way. So tell me, what is your current PB for the half marathon, and what is your goal time? And what are you doing in order to get there? I loved all your comments yesterday, so please keep them coming.